Alright guys, welcome to, finally, my Planet of the Apes Q&A. And, as always, if I didn't answer someone's question, or questions, that usually means they were marked as spam, or YouTube was being a dick and decided not to even have them show up on my list. So I do apologize in advance for that. Having said that, though, let's get into the Q&A, shall we? Starting with Treva Smolka, whose first question is, what is your opinion on Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes movie? Do you think it would have been it would have been good without the horrible twist ending? Just wondering. And who would you rather cast in the lead role of that movie? Okay, in a nutshell, he's asking me, what did I think the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes movie was good? Oh God, no! God, no! 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 Absolutely no! Okay. I will give them this. The makeup on the apes is really good, and Tim Roth as General Thade and Michael Clark Duncan as his right-hand man, I forget his character's name, are really good. Like, they really commit to the roles. And also another point being that Charlton Heston's character, the Charlton Heston role in here was also really cool to see, Charlton Heston back. And I loved his little scene in here. Other than that, this movie is just a giant crock pot of shit. I'm sorry, I gotta call it. It's just one giant crock pot of shit. And thankfully, that was not the last Planet of the Apes movie. And thank God for the new Planet of the Apes films. Anyway, so I don't know. And Mark Wahlberg, he's not a bad actor in my opinion. He's just not given a lot of great direction in here. Nor is everyone else. I mean, seriously. I would go further into detail about how much I hate this movie, but if you want to know, go to Sid Part 2's channel, because one of the videos we did on Geeky Gentleman was we all worked together and talking about this movie and how bad it is. And we actually had a lot of fun. It was me, Milan Jeftik, Sid Part 2, Steve Baxey, and I think the last guy's name was Aussie Griffin, I think. Possibly. Could be wrong. Anyway, so if you want to know my further thoughts on that giant, travesty of this film, go check that out on Sid Part 2's channel. Anyway, second question: if you would have a crossover with Planet of the Apes and Marvel and DC, which heroes and villains would you choose to fight the apes? Just wondering. Okay, I guess like classic Planet of the Apes wise, I guess it would be. I guess like if you want to go old school, I suppose. Well, not old school. I mean, Marvel heroes, maybe just the Avengers, or the Fantastic Four would be apt because they've always traveled to alternate universes and they're very science fiction. So I think the Fantastic Four would probably be the best one. For DC, I would say, I don't know. It's always cool to see the Justice League and stuff. There you go. So there you go. Third question is, due to the ending of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and the war with the apes and humans coming to a head, I'm just wondering, what is your prediction for the third movie of this trilogy? Okay, what do I think will be the third movie? What I would like to see is that this is set a little further. The film is coming out in 2017, which is a hell of a lot faster, because remember how long we had to wait between Rise of the Planet of the Apes and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes? Yeah, kind of a while. So I'm kind of glad we're getting this film's coming a lot sooner. So yeah, this third film, which I have no idea what they're going to call it, I think it would be really cool because they left little hints throughout the first movie. Is little hints of the space the rocket ship going out into space and then it getting lost. So I think it would be really cool if they touched on that and just called the movie Planet of the Apes, like have it set further in the future. Apes are now the superior beings. Humans are, I wouldn't say like they're like mindless savages. I wouldn't say that at all with humans. I would say like maybe they're they still have guns and whatnot, but they apes are now the superior life form. And Caesar's gone. I would have that maybe someone else is in control. Apes are now capable of speech. They've got they ride on horses. They've got the guns, all that stuff like that. Like make it a kind of a better remake of Planet of the Apes. Anyway, so thank you for that question, Trevor Smolka. Next comes Andrew Varney, who asks, first question is, what would the Doctor think of the apes? Again, I don't know which apes you're talking about. Are we talking about from the classic movie, or are we going by the first movie? For sake of argument, I'll just go by classic. For classic film, I would actually love to see that. That's one thing I've always wanted to see, like, when IDW still had... I wish, IDW still had the rights to Doctor Who, so that instead of, Star Trek and Planet of the Apes, it would have been Doctor Who and Planet of the Apes, which I'm pretty sure the Tiptons wanted, was, to do a Doctor Who Planet of the Apes crossover. But I think it would be so cool to see the Doctor stuck in this world, especially the classic world, and if anything else, to see the Doctor match logic with Dr. Zaius. Oh, that'd be so cool. Anyway, second question. What would the apes think of the Great Saiyan apes? Oh, they'd look at them like gods. They would, look at them and see, oh, these are, ancient godlike beings. That's what I think they would look at them. And your third question is, what if the monkeys from 2001: A Space Odyssey met the apes? The apes would be like, what a bunch of bloody savages. The hell is this? What the hell? Yeah. Anyway, so thank you for those questions, Andrew Varney. Moving right along to Wolfman the Impaler, whose first question is, what would Caesar and Koba think of Gorilla Grodd? I think, Caesar would realize this guy is not on the up and up. He may be an ape, but there is something different about him. Whereas Koba would definitely be working with him to exterminate all humans. So I think Koba would be more welcoming of Grodd, and Grodd would be seeking to take control of power from Caesar. But anyway, second question. What would happen if the war led to the events of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes basically created the giant ants from them? Monkeys fighting super intelligent apes fighting giant ants. I'd be down for it. I'd be totally down for it. I think that'd be a lot of fun, especially maybe the apes riding ants. Oh, the human race would be fucked then. And your third question is, what would happen if the apes fought the dinosaurs from Dinosaurs Attack? That would be the most bloodiest thing I've ever seen. If you guys don't know what Dinosaurs Attack is from the same group Topps that made Mars Attacks. They were meant to be these really bloody and grotesque trading cards with dinosaurs brutally killing and eating people. And IDW got the rights to them, and they're doing a comic book about it. I think it was just a mini-series, but I think they just have they still have the rights, though. Anyway, so, yeah. The idea behind this is, I think that would be just a really bloody, savage war, more or less. So anyway, thank you for those questions, Wolfman. Next comes Eugeros Vasiouras. I always have trouble pronouncing that name. I know you, good sir, I know you gave me a pronunciation, but I still have trouble with the said pronunciation, so I apologize. First question, what music would the Planet of the Apes characters listen to? You see, they don't really like human music. I don't even think they've heard human music. So I think they would just be like, tribal music. There you go. There you go, tribal music of their own making. There you go. Alright, second question. Think of what a Transformers Planet of the Apes crossover would be like. Classic Planet of the Apes and Transformers. I think it would, how I would do it is maybe deep within the Forbidden Zone, you have the Autobots and Decepticons. They wake up. Thousands in an alternate take. It would be how it was in G1, where the Autobots wake up. The Autobots and Decepticons wake up, only not in the age of humans, but the age of apes. And the apes see them as these giant metal leviathans that have just come, they're like nightmares coming out of the. They're coming out of the Forbidden Zone. So. Yeah, that would be really interesting. Optimus Prime and Dr. Zaius. That would be really interesting. Ratchet hanging out with Zira. That'd be a lot of fun, and especially Megatron trying to convince the gorilla army to work for him. Anyway, oh, and I've already answered this question. What would the Planet of the Apes original Oh, this is original continuity. Okay, Okay, I'll answer this one because what Wolfman the Impaler asked was something from the new series with Caesar and Koba. This is you said original continuity, so let's see how that would go with Grodd, if Gorilla Grodd was in the original continuity of Planet of the Apes. So he comes this universe, and he ends up here on this little world, and again, I think he would be welcome, but I feel like some of the apes, especially like Zaius and Cornelius and a few other apes, would be worried about him, especially with. I feel like they would learn pretty quickly of his mental abilities and be very concerned about him. And he would definitely be an issue, but it's the whole rule of ape will not kill ape. So I think Grodd would kind of abuse that law. But it would not bode well for the ape, especially for the orangutans and chimpanzee. But the gorilla, especially people like Marius and Aldo. Well, Marius in this continuity with Cornelius and all that. So General Marius would be following Grodd as his faithful general. Anyway, thank you for those questions. Moving on now to the Spawn 117, whose first question is, what would happen if the apes from the new Planet of the Apes met King Kong? That would be something. I think that Caesar would be very welcoming of Kong. Obviously, he's this giant gorilla, but I think, obviously he would look at him as like, you're another ape. Obviously a giant ape, but we welcome you into our home. Whereas I think Koba would try to, convince Kong to be like his muscle to help him try to take over the humans. Something like that, I don't know. Second question. What do you think of a Planet of the Apes Terminator AVP crossover? Well, I know there was talks of that a long time, and they're all under Fox. Yeah, they're all, Apes, Aliens, Predator, Terminator, they're all under Fox. But I don't know how you could do that, really. That would be just completely insane. I'll say that. It's completely insane. I would love to read it, but I don't know how I would make that. Alright, what would happen if Caesar, from the new continuity, if he met Rocket Raccoon? I think he would be like, vermin talk too much. And Rocket Raccoon would just be dropping about 18 F-bombs in response to being called vermin. So, thank you for those questions, Spawn 117. Next comes up Marvel and DC 379, whose first question is, what's your favorite Planet of the Apes movie? The original film. Yeah, the original film's really good. Beneath the Planet of the Apes, not really much. Escape, meh. Conquest is really good. Conquest and Battle for the Planet of the Apes are really good. And obviously the two following, fuck the remake, and the two movies with Andy Serkis. Rise and Dawn are also really good ape movies, so there you go. Second question. Do you root for the humans or the apes, and why? See, that's the beauty of the Planet of the Apes movies on a whole. Not excluding the Tim Burton movie, but on a whole, the beauty of these films is that this is a gray area. You can't. You want to root for the humans at first, but then you realize, oh yeah, humans made this world the way it is to allow apes to happen. And then you have the apes who have a very structured society, but at the same time they're doing some horrible things to humans. So it does leave in that gray area, so you can't really root for one side, which I feel like again the Tim Burton movie sorely lost that ideal, and thankfully they brought that ideal back, especially in Dawn. But anyway, there's my answer. Thank you for those questions, Marvel and DC. Next comes Travis Rendon, who asks, if you were an ape in Caesar's colony, what ape would you be? Chimp, orangutan, bonobo, gorilla, and would you be loyal to Caesar or Koba? Okay, if I was an ape, gorilla. Here you go. Gorilla, and I'd be loyal to Caesar because Caesar's got his head on straight. Because Koba, I would like look at Koba and be like, man, he's got his shit all wrong. Anyway, sorry about that. Where was I? How would Caesar react to Detective Jim from DC? I feel like he would react to him and be like, I think he would just be like, here I can barely make full syllables. You can make entire sentences out of the human language. What the hell? Anyway, so, and your third question is, what is your opinion, in your opinion, was Koba a straight-up villain or a tragic villain? I would have to say tragic villain, in my opinion, because you look at him, Koba's kind of like the Magneto of this ape universe, because he saw the worst of humanity. He saw nothing but the worst of humanity. He was experimented on over and over again against his will, and, he only, humans are the plague, apes are the next best thing. So, you kind of look at Koba and Caesar as like Magneto and Xavier, in a way, where you have one, you have Caesar who wants everyone to coexist, and you have Koba like, no, there's only one, we're the future, not them. So I do kind of see him as a tragic villain, because Koba's intentions do kind of start out good, but then you see, obviously, his hatred just overwhelms him. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Travis Rendon. Next comes Robert Avram. If Monkey Fist from Kim Possible was in the Planet of the Apes universe, what would happen? Oh, I think they would look at him and be like, "You not ape," or the, or if the original continuity is like, you are not an ape, and proceed to maul the shit out of him. They wouldn't look at. I don't think they would look at him as like a true ape. You know what I mean? All right. If you had to pit the apes against another army except humans, who would you choose and why? Maybe orcs from. Yeah, let's watch. The apes fight orcs from Middle Earth. Why? Because why not? I don't know, like orcs and gorillas fighting. Medieval weapons and tactics versus the going by original continuity. These big bulky bolt rifles. Not like they had automatic weapons like in the new continuity, but the old continuity. I mean, they just had these rifles that had these one shot. They were like bolt action, really. Not really bolt action, but more like they were just these one and done shoot 'em rifles, and they weren't like semi-automatic. That's the word I was looking for. And your third question is, which Planet of the Apes movie did you like the most? I think I pretty much answered this question, which is my favorite. So don't really have a number one, but they're the ones I named are my favorites. Here we go with Boo Rat 1. Just to get it out of the way, fuck, marry, kill, Ari, Nova, Zira. I guess. I don't know. I don't know, really. I really don't know, and I'm kind of tired of these of this same question over and over again. So. But I'll answer this. I kid, Boo, I kid. So, F, marry, kill. In this kind of continuity, Ari, kill, fuck Zira. That'd be an experience. And marry Nova. Boom. Alright, second question. Which of the original Planet of the Apes movies would you like to see get riffed? Beneath the Planet of the Apes really needs it, and to an extent, Escape as well. There you go. How would you write a original continuity Planet of the Apes TV series or miniseries? Uh, like, how would I write it? Like, how would you write a... Hang on, I'm trying to understand this question. Planet of the Apes original miniseries and TV show crossover. The Visit... I don't know, like, I guess you're trying to say, like, a TV crossover with someone else, and who would win, the Visitor or the other? I don't know, really. Really not sure how to answer this one. Sorry, Abu Rat, but thank you for those the other questions. Anyway, moving on to Alex Inayez, whose first question is, what do you think of crossovers between Planet of the Apes and these other series? Gravity Falls, Legend of Korra, Samurai Jack, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Jurassic Park. Okay, starting off with Jurassic Park. I think I would have it that, ever since mankind was gone, the park's been flourishing and the dinosaurs have been existing. I would have it that maybe a group of apes who are exploring for, a colony of apes, because obviously I would imagine there's more than one colony of apes out there. The apes go out and they're trying to expand their lands. They end up on this island and they find themselves on Jurassic Park. And I wouldn't have it that the dinosaurs have evolved as much as like the apes have. I would have it that the dinosaurs are still dinosaurs. Anyway, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. For the Turtles, I would say since they've gone to alternate realities, maybe they're chasing after the Utrom, or they're traveling in the They've hijacked the Technodrome, and the Technodrome drops them off accidentally on the Planet of the Apes universe. So, I would even have it that the apes call them demons because they're not humans, they're not apes, they're these. They call them demons. So I think that'd be pretty fun. Legend of Korra. Don't know how I would do this one. Maybe I really have no idea how you could do Planet of the Apes and Korra. Really don't. Samurai Jack. Maybe have it that Aku sends him to an alternate timeline. There you go. That's all I got right there. And for Gravity Falls, I would maybe have it that, Blendin Blandin, the time traveler, what he does is capture Mabel, the rest of the Mystery Shack crew, and he dumps them in the far future, which is the Planet of the Apes continuity, and they have to survive and try to find Blandin again and take his time machine, his little time machine, and go, travel back. Maybe, I would even have maybe Taylor in there. They team up with Taylor. There you go. So, thank you for that question. Next up is, what would happen if Caesar from the new Planet of the Apes movie met Julius Caesar from ancient Rome? He would be like, human, stupid. Because, obviously, Julius Caesar was not a great king. Well, that depends on one's looking at history, but I digress. I don't think Caesar would be kind to Julius Caesar. Anyway. Okay. Third question. Apes with guns or apes with frickin' laser beams? Apes with guns. That's all I can say. Apes with guns. So thank you for those questions, Alex. Next comes Andre Partridge, whose first question is, do you think a new line of Planet of the Apes movies that are currently out are better than the original series or equal to the original series, and why? I think they're right on par. Well, then again, some of the sequels were not up to par, but I think the new the original film and the two new films of the new continuity are excellent. I think I don't say that these new films are superior. I think they're just as good. So, that's me. Okay, second question. Do you think the 10th, 11th, and 12th Doctor... How do you think the 10th, 11th, and 12th Doctors would react to the Planet of the Apes universe, in your own opinion? I kind of answered this one already, but I guess I can kind of bend it a bit because you're specifying on which Doctors. I think on a whole, honestly, though, like I said before, I think all the Doctors would just be completely terrified of this new timeline. I think I would have it in this crossover with Doctor Who and the Planet of the Apes is that the Doctor's in this. Someone's created an alternate timeline, or he's ended up. The TARDIS has accidentally been flung into an alternate timeline, kind of like how it was with the in Series 2 with the reintroduction of the Cybermen. So that would be interesting. I think the 12th again. I just want to see the Doctor have a conversation with Dr. Zaius. All right, it's third question. What do you think will happen if you put Caesar and Tim Burton in a room and make them watch Tim Burton's version of Planet of the Apes? Caesar would be like, "Human, stupid." There you go, Andre. So, let's move on to the next set of questions. Coming from Cody Bradish, who first question is, how would you compare and contrast Caesars from the original Planet of the Apes movie and the current Planet of the Apes series, and which do you like better? I think I pretty much like both Caesars from both films. You had this; both of them have pretty much the same goals of wanting, humans and apes to coexist within certain boundaries. Obviously, they each have their own rules. I mean, Caesar wanted, coexistence, but on his terms. Same with Caesar. If you're from the classic series, where apes can't, humans can't say no to apes, and a few other rules. But things like that. But I do like both Caesars. Second question: which do you like better, Escape from Planet of the Apes or Conquest? I like Escape from Planet of the Apes. I think it has some nice little moments here and there, but I don't know. It just didn't have the charm. And to me, it didn't have the charm to it. But Conquest is a lot of fun. This is like, obviously, you see here that a lot of the stuff from Rise of the Planet of the Apes, a lot of the inspiration came from Conquest and any of the other Planet of the Apes films. Kind of like you look at Battle of the Planet of the Apes, and and then see, oh, that's where Dawn of the Planet of the Apes got a lot of inspiration from there. So yeah. Third question. What would you think of a crossover between Planet of the Apes and MLP, having to do with crossing dimensions, like how they did in the Equestria Girls movie? I think what I would do, honestly, if I had any say in this, I would have the Equestria Girls universe cross over with Planet of the Apes, and maybe like they want to go to Twilight's universe, to the main, I guess you could say, Pony Prime universe. There's a new word. And they accidentally end up in this alternate timeline. So that would be something to behold. Oh, I can only imagine that universe's rarity in that universe. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Cody. Next comes Darth Venom. Darth Venom's first question is, what do you want to see in the next Planet of the Apes film? I already answered this question, Darth. So I already answered this at the beginning of the Q&A. So, as my rules dictate, I must move on from that question. All right. What would happen if the Planet of the Apes crossed over with King Kong, Walking Dead, Steven Universe, Phineas and Ferb, RoboCop, and Transformers? Well, I kind of already did King Kong and Transformers, but I'll answer the other ones. I guess you could make Walking Dead into The Walking Apes. Like you have I don't know, like you would have the actual Walking Dead characters in here, but maybe have the Walker virus, the zombie virus in here. Then you have zombie apes. Is that not awesome? Zombie apes. Why isn't that a thing? Anyway, so that what I would do right there is not really make it a crossover, but have the zombie apocalypse happen in the ape continuity. Alright, next question. With the Steven Universe, maybe have it that they're checking out all the warp pads and they warp to this universe, to the Apes universe, and Steven and Connie are... I would have it that maybe it's Steven and Connie that start out, like, Steven's taking Connie on a warp tour, and they warp to this universe by accident, and then they get captured, leaving the gems to go rescue them. Have something like that. Phineas and Ferb, maybe have it that they're exploring other alternate timelines. They end up on the Ape universe, and the little machine they had breaks down, and now they're stuck. And the only person that can help them is Cornelius and Zira. Here you go. And I don't know about RoboCop. I really have no idea for RoboCop. How would the following characters react if they ever met the apes? Hellboy, Deadpool, Spider-Man, Heisenberg, Darth Vader, Indiana Jones, and Batman. Excuse me, the goddamn Batman. Hellboy, he would be like, fuck this. Deadpool, I don't know, Deadpool would just be like, I'm gonna bang as many ape women as I can. No, really, I think that would be his reaction. Spider-Man, he would just be like Taylor, it's a madhouse. Heisenberg, I don't know what Heisenberg would think. He would be like, you are not the danger, Caesar. I am the danger. Something like that, I don't know. And Darth Vader, he would just be like, force choke, bitch. Now the Empire rules your planet. Get down on your knees. Indiana Jones, no idea. And Batman, Batman survived in a on alien worlds before. I'm pretty sure he can survive on a planet of apes. So thank you for that question, Darth Venom. Next comes Alec Johnson. If Donkey Kong, Mojo Jojo, and Gorilla Grodd were all in the Planet of the Apes universe, what would happen if they think of each other, and what would they do? Well, I've already said, what Grodd would do, so if Donkey Kong and Mojo Jojo were in the universe, they would not like each other and try to have, convince the other apes to fight the other one, have an ape civil war, maybe? I don't know. Here's the thing, guys, and I've said this before in crossover questions. I'm not really good with crossovers right on the fly. I mean, half this stuff I just kind of thought of right on the fly, just right off the fly, and it's not really that good. So, because I have to, whenever I think of a crossover, I have to let the idea fester in my head and see how this would work. You know what I mean? So that's why I kind of not really so kosher, good with the crossover questions. You know what I mean? So, sorry about that. Anyway, if you were an ape, would you want to conquer anything or no? Yeah, I'd just be like, I'm safe here in my home. I don't need to go out and conquer things. That would be me. Would you like to see... Well, okay. Would you like to see a Planet of the Apes comic book series? Well, Boom Studios is already doing a comic book series, and they're doing a crossover with the original continuity of Apes and Star Trek right now, which I think the second issue comes out next week, so I need to go get that. Yeah, I need to go get that next issue. Anyway. So, next, thank you for those questions, Alec Johnson. Next comes Nobodies, who asks, who would win in a battle, Caesar and his ape army, and a large pack of 30 raptors from Jurassic Park? The idea behind this is an alternate universe where humans extinct, group of raptors secretly taken to the mainland, escaped when the virus was killing everyone. Eventually the raptors make their home in the ruins of San Francisco. Okay, that's a cool scenario, Nobodies. Pack of 30 raptors versus Caesar's ape army. The thing is that the raptors are intelligent, but they're still very animalistic, where the apes have human-level intelligence and even further. Not to mention that they have spears and firearms, and they can build traps, whereas the velociraptors are, they're pack hunters, but they're not really, capable of riding horses and whatnot. So I think if the raptors got the drop on them, I think several apes would be killed, but I'm going to give it to the ape army. Second question, what if Caesar and the rest of the apes were suddenly transported to Equestria and were able to survive, coexist with it? Would they be able to survive and get along with and coexist with the ponies? I'm going to answer this one because, again, it's the apes coming to their universe, not the other way around. So I guess, yeah, I think they could coexist. Just be like, ponies, home, apes, home. Yeah. So thank you for those questions, Nobodies. So let's move on to the next set of questions. Alright, so next set of questions come from Burnouter7, whose first question is, what would you think of a Doctor Who Planet of the Apes and Planet of the Apes TMNT crossover? Unfortunately, Burnout, I've already answered those questions, so I gotta skip it. Second question, what would happen if there were werewolves on Planet of the Apes? I think that would be kind of interesting because I think that would be mysticism versus science fiction, and that's always cool to see. I think how they would do is maybe the apes think of these humans as more like they're demons that have shape-shifting abilities, maybe something like that. And your third question is, what would happen if Big Daddies from BioShock encountered apes from Planet of the Apes? Well, it would be the same thing as before. It would literally be the same thing as always in the Bioshock game. Protect the little sisters, and that's what they would do. Second of those questions, Burnouter. Next comes King Nazaru, who asks, "What would the apes think of What would the apes and Goku, after becoming a god, think of each other?" I don't really know, because I think the apes would look at Goku because obviously this would be after. I don't think he would have his Zoro monkey form. So I think they would look at him as like this just godlike being, but more like a god of humans, or some other kind of extraterrestrial being, something like that. I don't know. Second question, what do you think would be Jesus' thoughts after seeing the apes dominate over mankind? Wow. Wow. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to answer that, Nazaru. I really don't. So, sorry. Your third question is, what do you think it would be like if the apes had to compete with other animals that are sentient and dominant over the planet? I kind of have wondered that in the past. Like, maybe there are other species of higher evolved creatures out there, but the apes got lucky, especially in the original continuity. Like, maybe there's because it's a huge world. It can't be just localized in just what was left of New York City. So I'd imagine, like, somewhere beyond there's like a society of advanced reptilians or snake people, or like a society of super advanced dogs, or maybe, I don't know. Just something like that would be interesting to see. I don't know what kind of those societies would be, but that would be something to behold. Anyway, so think of those questions, King Nazaru. Moving on now to Jason Voorhees 2011, whose first question is, which ape character do you prefer, Cornelius or Caesar? I kind of like both, actually. Cornelius is this very, like, look, let's just keep our heads down and focus on this. And Caesar, especially in the new continuity, is this very, he wants to protect his kind, but he wants to find peace, but he will to put his people's safety over his own. So I don't know, they each have their own little quirks, and I like that. Okay, well, second question. What would Caesar and his civilization think of the characters from Gargoyles, namely Caesar meeting Goliath and his clan, and Koba meeting Demona? I think he would, like, again, apes wouldn't really have a problem with gargoyles, but it would be something like, look, you stay out of our way, we'll stay out of yours, and there'll be peace. And I think Koba and Demona would definitely have some kind of similar goals of apes and humans are bad. And I could definitely see like a short alliance between the two, maybe. Or possibly not. I probably don't think Demona would ally herself with something that's close to a human. Now that I think about it, yeah. And your final question is, do you prefer the Ape Society in the original films or the newer films, and why? I don't know, because they each are very unique in their own interesting way. You have the apes who are the apes in the original continuity who have this democratic society in a sense, but there is such a thing as the religious science committee who they are very, very set on keeping everything the way it is. There's no excavation outside of the forbidden zone. There's a lot of heresy is a very deadly crime. It's very it's a very backwards kind of situation. And then you have in the new continuity, Caesar has a pecking order, but his people are free to do as they wish, and pursue other goals. But everything goes under Caesar. So it's very interesting to look at those two kind of societies on a whole, really. Anyway, so your next question. That was all your questions. Thanks for those questions, Jason Voorhees. Moving on now to Major Badass, and Major Badass asks, how far do you think Ape Society would get? Do you think they would ever develop shit like space travel, smartphones, and computers? I don't know. That would probably be... in the original continuity, it looked like they were still, kind of somewhere like a pseudo version of the 1800s, so I don't know how far they would be from there. the newer continuity is still in the very tribal state, so that would take thousands of years, and I don't think they want. The thing about the new continuity is that they don't want to have advancements. I mean, sure they use spears and guns and horses, but they don't really want to have they're fine with the way things are. They are very set, and they don't really think this place would need like a mall or something like that. They don't really need it. They're just free to do as they wish. So anyway, thank you for that question. Second one is, do you think the apes would develop backwards ideals like prejudice towards different ape species or religion, or do you think that's beyond humans in that regard? I don't know, because you see obviously in the second movie that the rule of ape will not kill ape is broken, because obviously Koba broke a few rules to get where he is and started a war, so Caesar didn't see him as an ape anymore. So there could be down the line, something like that, like someone taking the, I don't know. This is a very interesting question. Like maybe they're you don't really see in the original continuity. You don't see a lot of racism between the gorillas, chimps, and orangutans. You don't see that in those ape species in the original film. So I don't know. I don't think racism, things like that, would affect this kind of continuity. But you never know. Yeah, I never know. If all other animals became hyper intelligent, what species would give the apes a run for their money? I don't know. Maybe snake people. Advanced lions. I don't know. I kind of answered this question already, Major Badass. So sorry. And next comes Christian Sager, whose first question is, what would they think of each other? Red Skull and Koba. Evil test chimp. Okay. So what would Red Skull think of Koba? He would think of Koba as just another subhuman creature, and Koba would look at Red Skull not as an ally, but more like he's another human. He's the embodiment of everything he hates about humans. Remember, Koba's life was more or less seeing the worst of humanity, because he was tested on so much as a young ape and growing up until Caesar freed him. So he only saw the worst of humanity, and seeing the Red Skull, he would look at the worst of humanity, whereas the Red Skull would see Koba as this, subhuman, literally like this subhuman creature, this abomination really, that he would just be like, you're dead, and he'd just kill Koba on the spot, and I think that would be the same way with Koba as well. So that's what I think. So, your second question is, what would you do with your own ape army? I don't know, really. I really don't know what I would do with an army of apes. Party? I don't know. Have a party that would put that stupid Project X movie to shame? Maybe that's what I would do with that. Now you go out and not really conquer any place, just destroy, just have one wild rager. I don't know. Anyway. What would you see happening if intelligent ape society could successfully integrate into human society? I don't know, because again, apes and humans just do not get along. As we've seen in the old continuity and the new continuity, apes and humans just cannot exist in the same world together and not be happy. Well, technically, in the end of Battle of the Planet of the Apes, in Battle of the Planet of the Apes, they kind of said, yeah, humans and apes can coexist, and that, but that quickly changed from then on. So, yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon. So anyway, thank you for those questions, Christian Sager. Now moving on to Omnitron12345, whose question is, do you think a Planet of the Apes TV series focusing on the unified ape-human society seen at the end of Battle for Planet of the Apes could work? Well, here's the thing. That was kind of it. Battle of the Planet of the Apes was not only a movie, but also a pilot for, a Planet of the Apes TV series, but that didn't really pan out. So, Yeah, it was meant. That's what it was kind of meant to be, in of its own right, but that didn't really work out. So, yeah. And your second question is, do you think a story about an ape astronaut landing on a planet of superhuman, super intelligent lizard or birds, or in short, akin to dinosaurs, would make an interesting story? That'd be kind of interesting, like have a planet of super intelligent reptiles as a ape. But here's the thing, apes aren't really interested in space travel, and I think they would, if you go by old continuity, they would consider that such a thing like a thing of mysticism and fantasy and even heresy. So they wouldn't even attempt space travel. And in new continuity, like I said, they kind of look like they're very set in their ways of, let's just be apes, let's not try to advance ourselves. That's what humans do. We don't need that. So, yeah. But it would be interesting, like, seeing an ape be, like, at the bottom of the food chain and feel like living like a human. That would be interesting in and of itself. So, that would be cool. And your final question is, what would you want to see in a Marvel Apes versus Planet of the Apes comic? I don't know, because I think, I think that, Planet of the Apes, I think this would be original continuity, would look at these other apes and see, like, maybe they're abominations, like, they're just mutations from beyond the Forbidden Zone. But, obviously, super-powered apes versus regular apes with just guns, I can probably see who the victor is in this kind of situation. I don't know how exactly the fight would go, but I kind of got my money on the Marvel Apes. So that about does it. I want to thank everybody for sending in questions. This was a lot of fun. And once again, if I did not answer someone's question, that means that YouTube was being a dick and either marked it as spam or didn't even have it show up on the list. But I want to thank everyone for sending in questions once again. Hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.